the philosophy of rationalism has produced this very destructive split between mind and body.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll know from your wonderful work you're doing with land, it's also produced this very destructive split between humans and nature. The philosophy of rationalism, is developing in the 17th century with philosophers such as René Descartes and his famous saying, "I think, therefore I am." And we are still gripped by the philosophy of rationalism.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that historical philosophical movement it has actually, it's the bedrock of our modern educational system,
Mm-hmm.
still now. So if we look at René Descartes' sort of famous saying, "I think, therefore I am,"
Mm-hmm.
what he was saying, when you read his works, it's very playful. He was saying, my body is in space, it's physical, but my mind is non-linear. It's not in space. Oh, I think he actually said it has some kind of spatiality, but it's so different. The body and the mind are so different, they can't interact.
Mm-hmm.
And that idea that grew through the philosophy of rationalism has affected our educational systems, our medical systems, the way we perceive mental health. And one of the things that undergraduate students at university grapple with when they're studying the arts and humanities is the realization that that is only one worldview, and it's a male worldview, primarily an androcentric worldview. It's one way of being in the world, which would be René Descartes' non-linear, all-knowing I, and that's how I'm experiencing the world. And what's really, I love sharing with the undergraduate students and the postgraduate students is it's a construction, it's a one world, it's one view, it's a male-centric view that has grown through history, and it is certainly not the worldview of many indigenous cultures and first world nations people. So one has to kind of explain and grapple, the students have to grapple with the idea that the construct and the worldview they're living with is a construct.
Mm-hmm.
And it belongs, and it's deeply related, as you know, Laura, to colonialism as well. So as it sweeps across the world, infiltrating and destroying other cultures, and with its hierarchical idea of this is the philosophy of rationalism is the only way to know the world, other people's worldviews, which are lived experiences, other ways of knowing, are wiped out or repressed.
Right.
And in our somatic work, of course, we celebrate other ways of knowing, other ways of experiencing. And those other ways of experiencing, for want of better words, would be proprioception, interoception, graviception, the Earth's ground reaction force, this sort of completely other way of experiencing the world and locating yourself differently from René Descartes' all-knowing I. And that's why I particularly love the somatic work. Our dominant cultural values, or the westernized dominant cultural values, are so corticocentric that people, it's really sad, don't have the spaces and the practices to feel into the world through their, their primary language, touch and movement. And that's what the somatocysts bring. You know, they bring many things, but it's that your mental health and your experience of the world can radically alter when your sense of self is dropping into the biology, the cells, the tissues. And it's very healing, because you all of a sudden, you're not a body and a mind, you're all of a sudden, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, now we can say, the body and mind are not separate, Laura. So every thought, I mean, just an example, if someone was sort of not, thinking that we were talking nonsense, every thought and feeling we have produces a chemical reaction in the body. So all this philosophical bantering and writing that René Descartes did around, can the body and mind interact? Well, absolutely, the body and mind interact all the time. The autonomic nervous system is so clever that it's 1 foot ahead of cognition. So, when you walk into a room, your autonomic nervous system is surveying and feeling into the room to check that you're safe. And it will produce a response before you've even apprehended the situation. So the body is so intelligent that it's extraordinary that it was left behind within Western cultural values. And I just wanted, Laura, to read you a quote that I thought you'd love. You might know it. It's by Sumner and Haynes. And really, they're saying the same thing. So the smartest thing in the room is the intelligence expressed in our bodies. There are millions of years of evolution behind the shapes and the forms and the movement in the body. And there are lots of coordinated, self-regulating processes that respond to events and maintain our internal balance. And this intelligence defines the chemistry, the nervous activity, and the alignment of the body. So they could have done with putting one more sentence in, which is, the body's so intelligent, it's 1 foot ahead of cognition.